Previously on Power Reviews. This was the first of those episodes, The Team Unites. Origins, Part 1 and 2. Party Monsters. The Tanking Gate. Boxed In. Broken Dreams. What is the next episode?
It's the season finale.
And now, Database Rangers Power Review.
Greetings, Ranger fans, and welcome to Power Reviews. As I'm sure you can all ascertain, I am not Database Ranger. He is currently tending to some of the more unexpected side effects of his most recent medication.
No, Mr. Hartford. Not a robot.
Obviously, this does present somewhat of a problem. Fortunately, he has provided us his notes, so I will be able to act in his stead for the course of this review. Here we are at the season finale of Power Rangers Samurai. It seems like only last week that we were coming back from the summer hiatus. It's because it was last week.
Wibbly wobbly timey-wimey.
The second half of Samurai is an anomaly of chronology. The first two episodes complete the season proper, followed by the two-part Origin special, which is then followed by two holiday specials of questionable placement in the continuity, and a team-up that clearly belongs in Super Samurai. But for all intents and purposes, this is the chronological conclusion of Power Rangers Samurai. To elaborate on the purpose of the season finale, I once again turn you over to... I think we can skip that part. So let's see if they can tie up the season and set the stage for Super Samurai with episode 18 of Power Rangers Samurai, The Ultimate Duel. We pick up during the last few moments of Broken Dreams. Dayu strikes out at Ranger Pink only to be interrupted by a startlingly ineffective Ranger Yellow. Ranger Pink, for some reason, can't believe the Nylock woman would treat her attempt at kindness with such scorn, and rejects any further notion of Dayu's redemption. Meanwhile, Decker's challenge to Ranger Red is interrupted by the appearance of Moogers, apparently sent by Octoroo to once again capitalize on Ranger Red's weakness. Frustrated, Decker quickly takes them down and offers Ranger Red 24 hours to prepare himself for their ultimate duel.
I only fight to protect the innocent.
Bad choice of words. Decker makes it very clear that if Ranger Red does not meet with him, then he will no longer be able to hold back his Nylock side, and will start attacking the population at large. Somehow shocked by this turn of events, Ranger Red accepts the challenge. Down in the Netherworld, Master Xandred finally admits that allowing Decker to take out Ranger Red would actually be in his best interests. Not sure why that did not occur to him before, and Octoroo sends Rhino Snorris, I'm sorry, but I still think that name is awesome, to head back topside and scare up some humans, since he has failed so miserably in the last episode. Yes, sticking people in a world where all their hopes and dreams come true doesn't usually tend to increase human sorrow. Unless you're in a Twilight Zone episode. I'm not really sure what that is. At the Shiba house, Ranger Pink prepares some tea for Ranger Yellow, still feeling guilty over her moment of hesitation with Dayu. She blames herself for the Yellow Ranger's injury and refuses to let her feelings get in the way of their mission again. Ranger Green calls the female Rangers into a meeting in the other room where the team is debating Ranger Red's decision to duel Decker. Alright, now, for the purposes of this debate, Ranger Red, you will be taking the for position, and Ranger Blue, you will be arguing against. Your opening statements, gentlemen?
This is necessary. If I don't go, Decker threatened to hurt innocent people.
We'll handle him just like any other Nylock. As a team.
Ranger Red, your rebuttal?
Kevin, you don't get it. If I'm not alone, it won't satisfy him.
Ranger Blue, you have 5 seconds.
Since when do we let a Nylock dictate how we battle?
Excellent work using logic while making it seem like a purely emotional response. But I do want to get everyone involved here, so Ranger Gold, you quietly support your friend while inwardly disagreeing with his decision. Ranger Green, continue to be perfectly reasonable. Ranger Pink, I want you to behave as though your conflict with Dayu has somehow made you a harsh and unforgiving person who will automatically side with whichever choice seems most rash. And Ranger Yellow, just keep looking concerned while contributing absolutely nothing to the conversation. Good job. So, closing arguments?
Jaden isn't just our leader. He's also the only one who has the sealing power. Jaden, you're the key to stopping the Nylock.
Oh, very good point that I didn't realize anyone still cared about. This could win you the debate. Ranger Red, your response.
This discussion is over.
Ranger Red wins the debate. The two warriors spend the remaining 24 hours preparing. Decker encounters Dayu in the woods where it's apparently been raining, because spending all of your time outdoors during the rainy season is the perfect way to stay in top physical condition. He explains to her that tonight will be the last night of his curse, and she sympathetically hopes he's correct, as he leaves to spend the rest of the night impersonating Zanaku. Ranger Blue makes one more attempt to talk Ranger Red out of his decision, but once he makes it clear he will not be swayed, Ranger Blue agrees to help him prepare instead. The others discuss Ranger Red's impending battle, once again contributing nothing while Ranger Pink practices her brooding techniques. The next day, all of them collect to wish the Red Ranger luck, each showing support in their own way.
Do what needs to be done.
Ranger Pink, imagine if you will that your best friend has read your diary without your permission, specifically the most private part of your diary, and then asked if you wanted to talk about it. Now, replace friend with hated enemy and your diary with your mind. And then tell me, what does this have to do with whether or not someone has a duel with someone else for completely unrelated reasons? Regardless, this scene is reasonably dramatic, at least until
Brontosaurus is back.
that character will never have a shred of dignity. Ranger Red turns his discs over to Ranger Blue, despite the fact that there was an entire episode dedicated to one of those discs belonging to Ranger Green, and tells him to lead the team into battle. They morph to rescue the populace from the Nylock, while the true centerpiece of the episode begins. Ranger Red meets Decker by the shore, as promised. They exchange some quick words.
Just like me, you need this battle.
I'm nothing like you.
They transform. They stare each other down, and they commence their duel. So, let's see what the rest of the team is up to. Despite his admittedly silly name, Rhinosaurus does manage to put up a pretty good fight against the Rangers, right up until Ranger Blue violates the laws of inertia to backflip forward and destroy the monster with his hydro bow. That was astonishingly easy. The Rangers all summon their Zords, except Ranger Gold for some reason.
I'm too weak.
And his character is one of the stronger ones. So apparently Rhinosaurus is capable of some kind of quantum teleportation through leaping. A sort of quantum leap, if you will. I don't get it. But this can't save him from a standard samurai strike attack. I believe this sort of character is what TV Tropes refers to as a glass cannon. Personally, I prefer my cannons refrigerated. So now back to the supposedly ultimate duel. Now don't get me wrong, it's a perfectly nice duel. The sword fight is very well choreographed. I just don't think I would go so far as to name it ultimate. The two foes are fairly exhausted, having somehow managed to reach the top of a cliff since we last saw them. Upon landing a hit on Ranger Red, Decker judges their duel to be near its end, and Ranger Red proves him right by coming in with an unexpected counterattack, breaking Uramasa in the process. Relieved to finally be freed, Decker falls from the cliff and disappears. And much like Zeltrax in A Star is Torn, Master Org in Sealing the Nexus, and Venjax and Embodied, I'm sure he'll never be seen again. And here's where my notes start getting a little less structured. The Rangers come to help Ranger Red. Serious, Ranger Pink is serious. Ranger Red's wrist hurts from being stabbed in the armpit. That looks like the most delicious fish ever. Ranger Red says sorry for derailing the main plot. Hey, I forgot about that black box thing. Wait, is that the end of the episode? And that's the end of our episode. So what did I think of it? Well, obviously, it doesn't really rank with any season finale we've seen since Mighty Morphin, since it doesn't bring any real closure to the story as a whole. However, since this story is intended to continue the following season, I feel like that would be an unfair comparison to make. ZOMG, my face is invisible to my face, purple monkey dishwasher. I think it's safe to say that this is the point where Database Ranger's medication began to take effect. Therefore, I will have to attempt my own assessment. Obviously, these samurai rangers were not subject to any sort of intelligence testing prior to acquiring their morphing devices, as none of their decisions seem to stem from any logical source. Ranger Red's rivalry with Decker is continually discussed without ever being properly explained, and the others simply go along with it because he's their chosen leader. But I suppose this is to be expected when nepotism wins out over objective criteria. From a storytelling perspective, this episode appears as though it is intended to provide some sort of thematic or emotional closure to the characters, but none of these implied arcs ever receives much development. Of particular note is Ranger Pink's transition from being an overly sympathetic character to one who is strictly unforgiving, which occurs with all the subtlety of a light switch. Ultimately, the ultimate duel fails to provide closure even on its own focus story, since Nylock have already been established to require 2 destructions in order to be eliminated. Only the most naive viewer would consider this storyline over after a paltry 4 minutes of footage. Now, I can make out one more coherent thread of thought in Database Ranger's ramblings. Apparently, he also wanted to relay his opinion on Power Rangers Samurai as a whole. Since the rest of these notes are a combination of conspiracy theories and gibberish, I will simply have to infer his opinion on this matter. I assume, since so much of his time has been dedicated to it, that he obviously must hold this season in high regard, and likely counts it amongst his favorites.
Now hold on a minute. Okay. I may not be the most brain working at the moment, but I am aware enough to know that Power Rangers Samurai is not my favorite season. There are many, many issues I have with this season, most of which I have been avoiding because I don't want to bog down this series with too many repetitive complaints. Where do I start? The characters, because we know that I've been tiptoeing around that all season. These Rangers are some of the weakest characters that we've seen, and I really don't know who to blame for it. The actors seem like an easy target, but I feel like the directors must be deliberately telling them to push forced, soft-spoken urgency into every single statement. I understand that this is supposed to be directed at children, but I imagine those kids want to be entertained and not constantly have the importance of every single conversation impressed upon them with all the subtlety of Picasso with a paintball gun. And this might be okay if the writers gave them anything of substance to work with, but they don't. The dialogue is regularly clumsy, awkward, and not made any more poetic by the inclusion of painfully expository inner monologues. But I do not blame the actors, nor the writers, nor the directors, because for all I know they could be very talented individuals who are simply doing their best with the material and instruction that they're given. No. Power Rangers Samurai is flawed at a conceptual level. And the concept is this. Power Rangers Samurai is an attempt to translate Samurai Sentai Shinkenger into an American series. Not translating it as a Japanese series, which would keep its cultural elements intact, nor adapting it into an American series, which would involve altering those cultural elements or substituting them for appropriate American analogs. No, Samurai literally translates the story of Shinkenger while excising out all the thematic cultural focus that made that story work. In other words, after 20 episodes, the series is still plagued by the exact same issue that I stated in my first episode. Bing! Decontextualization. These characters are Japanese archetypes that follow Japanese values steeped in Japanese traditions while completely stripped of the context of a Japanese culture. And nothing is placed there to fill that void. Even the original aspects of the series only exist because of either cultural censorship or marketing. And the sad thing is that there is nothing wrong with wanting to translate a good story for a new audience. And it could have worked if Shinkenger had been a culture-blind series. Time travel, cops, dinosaurs, any of these could have worked. But these are samurai. Shinkenger was a modern update of classic Japanese period drama. And that was never going to translate. In case you haven't gathered, I could go on for hours about this. But I'm still seeing sounds and tasting colors, so I will cut this short. If you would like to hear more about this, sniff around with your eyes. That didn't come out right. And check out my new blog here. I'll be covering things I feel the season did right, wrong, and where I think it could have been improved upon. But Power Reviews will remain an episodic discussion series. So, to sum things up, Power Rangers Samurai is a deeply flawed season, heavily lacking an emotional and creative core, which is definitely exemplified in the Ultimate Duel, with the complete lack of an emotional driving force behind its core centerpiece. But the season is not without its merits, which I have made an effort to highlight in past episodes. Unfortunately, even these small successes have been heavily damaged by Nickelodeon's nonsensical airing schedule, and I feel the whole thing has been a failed experiment in storytelling that will hopefully provide a learning experience for future seasons. Oh, and one more thing. Just because a person might like Power Rangers a little bit more than the next guy does not make it okay to be sneaking all sorts of chemical products, which I'm sure haven't been tested by the FDA, into my system. So, I will ask you nicely to just end this unfounded and unwelcome drilling exposition into my psyche. Okay?
I will cease my psychological evaluation if you can answer one question to satisfaction.
Okay, fine, shoot.
Do I exist?
What?
You say that you understand Power Rangers is just a show. Do I exist?
You know what? I think that's enough for this week's episode of Power Reviews. Make sure to join us next week when we'll be moving on to the next chapter in the Power Rangers saga with the season premiere of Power Rangers Super Samurai. Until then, farewell Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.